afternoon. You're all warmly welcome to this afternoon's session. This session is going to be on governance sector, and it's going to be about deepening decentralization and digitalization to improve the quality of the service provision. I'm Catherine Akosua-Dimado of the Information Services Department, and our moderator for this afternoon will be Dr. Eric Osai, the Technical Advisor to the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. He's going to be moderating affairs for this afternoon session. So, shall we all welcome him with a round of applause as he takes over the session for the afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and Honorable Chief Executive and Ministers gathered here. This afternoon's session, like she said, is on governance, and governance affects all of us. We're going to have three interesting presentations from the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development. My sector minister has arrived. Let's clap for her. Yeah. So we're going to receive three presentations. One from the Public Sector Reform Secretariat. The second one from the Ministry responsible for regional reorganization and development. They will tell us everything about the creation of regions. After creation of regions, what next? Those who are saying that they have outlived their usefulness, they will tell us why they continue to be relevant. Then the Ministry of Local Government and Rural Development will be here to also do a presentation, and you know the title is Decentralization. And they are the ministry responsible for implementing decentralization policies of the Republic of Ghana. Last year, we were to do a referendum leading to the election of MMDCs. You tell us more about that, together with other digitization initiatives that they are implementing. Permit me to introduce the key personalities here. I'll start with the Chief Executive Officer of the Public Sector Reform Secretariat, Mr. Kusibuafo. Mr. Kusibuafo. And then we also have the Chief Director of the Ministry of Regional Reorganization and Development, Mr. Baika. We also have the Deputy Minister for Local Government, one of the Deputy Ministers of Local Government and Rural Development, Honorable Collins is here. Let's recognize him. We have another Deputy Minister for Local Government. Today is the Local Government Day. Honorable Osebusu Amwa, MP for Accra South. And then we also have the Honorable Minister herself for the ministry responsible for Local Government and Rural Development, Honorable Hajia Alima Mahama, MP, Narigu Gambaga constituency. My name is Eric Osai. I'll be your moderator for this afternoon's session. We go straight into business. Public sector is big and wide. So I would invite the Chief Executive Officer of the Public Sector Reform Secretariat to mount the podium and tell us what they have been able to do. How have they reformed the public sector? What are the challenges? Where are they taking Ghana to? Have we reformed the sector? Today, you hear a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Mr. Kusibuafo to the podium.
Dr. Moderator, Honorable Minister for Local Government, Deputy Minister of two deputies of local government, the Chief Director of Local Government, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and our friends in the media. I take this opportunity to welcome this particular way of presenting what we have from the public sector reforms. Public sector reforms is under the office of the senior minister. Number of institutions, which tentatively is about 500 of them. It has the mandate of reforming our public sector to make our public sector more efficient and more responsive. Over the years, Ghanaians have said a lot about our public sector as not being efficient. We are of the view that we can do better and we can improve our public sector. So I will start by saying that since it is governance and it borders on decentralization, which I think is a greater work of local government, I will still talk about, in a very small way, on decentralization, which is decentralization is an imperative mechanism for strengthening our democracy and improving service delivery at the local levels. And we all know decentralization is globally acknowledged as a means of facilitating and ensuring community participation for local development. And it is also dating back to 1980, that is where we believe decentralization got started in earnest. And up to this now, it is still, we are pursuing a decentralization. We are still on the journey. It is aimed at developing the authority of the central government to the district level with some level of autonomy. However, over time, some challenges still hinder the successful implementation of the concept, which we acknowledge that fact. Now, strengthening what does it need to be deepened? When we strengthen the local government structure, predominantly the substructure, we will ensure independence and devolution of absolute power and authority to the district assemblies. The fiscal decentralization component of the decentralization need to be fully implemented to empower the metropolitan, municipal, and district assemblies with vital resources to achieve total development. Now, the status of digitization in the country. Some MDAs and MMDAs have improved their services. So for public sector, we believe in service improvement. All that we are doing as government, we believe that if we don't improve the service delivery, we will not be able to achieve the results that we want. We have the mandate of the people, we have the manifesto, it has been clearly spelled out with policies and programs, and it will be delivered by the public servants. If the services are not delivered well, we are not going to have a very good planting for food and jobs. We are not going to have one district, one factory, good results coming from there. Even our free education, I don't think we'll be able to get there. With proper service delivery, I think we'll be able to get there. So the civil servants and the public servants are very, very important. And that is why, and all the services that we have, we believe that digitization will ensure that at least we deliver services faster and more efficient and in a more effective way, cost-effective way. That is our belief. No single agency can yet fully automate the system because for many business processing stages, it depends on data from other MDAs. In Ghana, when we want to digitize, it will be digitization across board, not one single individual agency getting digitized and the rest sits down. It doesn't work that way. We must digitize all over, at least, so that we move together. So digitization is holistic, and that is what we are pursuing. The manual culture, no single agency can develop or digitize successfully and achieve a dividend solely. It doesn't work that way. Manual culture of business processes, correspondence and document archiving still pertain widely in the public sector. You all hear all these things. Documents getting bent here and there. retrieval becoming very difficult. You submit a document physically and you are told that it is lost and that you become confused. Who took it? Nobody knows. The next day, the document resurfaces and it is on somebody's table. He has forgotten. We need digitization to ensure that wherever the document goes, it can be retrieved with technology. And that is where we are focusing. Notable among some IT-led intervention implementation that has been implemented by the government include the digitization of Ghana ports, ATEMA, online passport application, online services of Registered General Department, among others. But still, we still have a lot to do as far as digitization is concerned. Now, what we are going to talk about is under the National Public Sector Reform Strategy. This is a strategic document that has been delivered for the first time. Over the years, all our reforms did not have a strategy to back it. Did not have a strategy to back it. The National Public Sector Reform Strategy has been developed and has been launched. It was launched by the President in August 2018. It is called NPSRS 2018-2023, and it encompasses all the reforms that we intend doing as a unit, also under the Office of the Senior Minister and also as government. At the core of this particular strategy is to improve the performance of the public sector to be responsive to the needs of the citizens and the private sector for the sustained national development. It is centered on three principles, which are new direction and purpose. The new direction and purpose. We need a new direction, a paradigm shift from the old ways of doing things. It is 5 o'clock, I am cruising. This is not my business. A person comes to work and he's only watching the time. He arrived late and nobody cares. He leaves very early and nobody cares. It is raining and nobody cares. Business as usual. It is government work. It is not your father's work. This direction we must depart. And that is why we say a new direction in purpose. A new direction. We have to cultivate that new direction as civil servants. Serious attitudinal change. It is about 90%, 70% of reforms borders on attitudinal changes. Then also we have the personnel developing the people, capable ones. Capable one. That is why the Office of the Head of Civil Service has now instituted examination. Online. You pass before you have ability to become a civil servant. It is not the era of nepotism, my friend, whoever, whatever qualification, either pick from the internet-enabled one or whatever, and the person presents those. Now there is an examination awaiting. If you go to Ghana Education Service, now there is an examination awaiting. That is why we have such things. Then also the processes of doing business, not business as usual. It is efficiency in the processes. We need to have the processes, which should be clearly defined, structures clearly defined. Then under this, the National Public Sector Reforms falls under have 6 of the pillars, 6 pillars that dictates the National Public Sector Reforms. The first pillar is citizen and private sector focused public sector. Public sector is there to facilitate the work of citizens and private sector. The private sector, so it is an enabler. It is an enabler. And it will help the citizens. So when you hear citizens complaining a lot, most of the time it is about our inability to deliver efficient service, timely service, cost-effective service to them. So this one has a number of programs falling under the citizens and private sector focused public sector. The second pillar is capable and disciplined workforce. And in disciplined workforce is nothing that can help. We want to know a person who knows the work, a person who is motivated, and a person who respects the work. Not that as for government work, I'm just doing it. When I find any good job, I will stop and go and do. That era is over. We want to see a disciplined worker. You come and you don't expect blank envelope before you work. It is blank envelope that kickstarts you. That is not the work. A public servant that we want. We want public servant who gets up and says, I am going to work. When he's even late in Germany, when a worker is late for 2 minutes, he stays to work for extra 2 hours. He stays to work for additional 2 hours to compensate for the loss, and not a worker stealing the time, all the time stealing the time, and when they are counting corrupt people, they exempt themselves. Pillar 3 is about strengthening public sector regulatory framework. That is the laws that we need to do. And I think the Ministry of Local Government, there are several laws that they put in place to be initiated by most of the ministries. And there are going to be several laws to regulate the way we do our work. For instance, the government, the Ministry of Finance, in order for the minister not to spend beyond 5%, now the minister is capped under the Fiscal Responsibility Act that has been passed. If the minister spends beyond 5%, then there is a problem for that particular ministry. So these are some of the laws that we are putting in place. Then modernize and improve work conditions. We also need to improve the working environment of the people. Now, the work environment is sometimes when you go, there is a place that I visited. Just 10 minutes more. Yeah, just one word to complete assembly. It was there. Just one word to complete the assembly. The Y is gone. Yes, the Y is gone. It has been defaced. But just one word, assembly, DLY, the Y was missing. So it became assemble. So it is expected to be there. So we don't want a situation of that nature. Let us improve our work environment, our living situations, and improvement in terms of training, in terms of equipment to work with, and also motivate. Strengthen local governance structure, which I think the local government will also put a lot of touch to this particular one, but I believe that we need to have a proper local government structure. It has a lot of programs, including ensuring the improvement of the local economy. We know that most of the initiatives that are coming to support the local economy. Yes, so we have a number of initiatives. The Pillar 6 is digital public sector services, and we need to ensure that public sector services are indeed digitized to ensure that at least we have efficiency in the service delivery. So we seek to achieve a number of things, like reorienting the public sector structures, streamline administrative processes, introduce measures aimed at ensuring comprehensive attitudinal change, which I have already talked about and which we are currently doing, strengthening performance orientation among public sector workers, and then mainstreaming resource delivery, that is the M&E. So I can honestly tell you that this thing that is going on that you see, it is public sector reform that facilitated and funded this exercise you are seeing. So this is one of the results. So clap for us. I've not seen you clapping. We facilitated it, funded it, and we believe that whatever you are doing, put it into the public domain. There should be greater accountability from the people. Let the citizens become aware of what you are doing so that they can contribute, so that a minister or myself will not sit here somewhere and then tell you so many things that you can't see for yourself. So from here, this exercise will move to the various regions, and it is going to be region specific. So when it gets to voter region, then they will tell you what they are doing over there. The citizens there will come, fraternize, ask questions, make contributions, and when they even leave, they still will make contributions and make a lot of suggestions. So for us, this is one of our achievements. So when people say public sector reform, what are you doing? We are doing this one, and we are going to do more across the country. Now, this is being done under public sector reform for resource project. So this document has been launched. It is called National Public Sector Reform Strategy. And for the first time, this is the strategy for public sector reform from 2018 to 2023. And all reforms in Ghana will going to be under the umbrella of this document. This is its small version that has been done. Then we also have the infographics. This one also shows snaps of what we are going to do. Under this particular national public sector reforms, we have a national public sector reform strategy. A project has been carved out of this. In fact, it is $35 million project, and it is managed at the office of the senior minister, for which I am the project coordinator. And it involves 16 institutions that we are going to improve. The 16 institutions have, among them, 5 frontline institutions. The 5 frontline institutions, as we see, now we have DVLA. So if DVLA is performing, they are going to perform more when we start rolling out, for which we have already started rolling out. Birth and death, people complain a lot. I think we have to do something about it. It is going to be funded, and they are going to improve on their services. We are going to give them a lot of materials. In fact, we are going to procure vehicles and motorbikes. Within this week, contract will be signed for the award of a number of contracts for procurement of vehicles and that of the motorbikes. They say they are not mobile. We will make them mobile. They will move to the villages, and they will move to the centers. And they are going to do registration. They are going to team up with, what do we call it, the district assemblies, and then the assemblymen over there, the queens, and then the kings in those villages. If a lady is pregnant, then they know, the queen is aware. And they will do registration right from there. They will link up with the mortuaries, especially the private ones, and also do registration of the deaths so that we get a proper data for ourselves. So birth and death, good news for you under this particular project. The EPA will also do online applications, and then for the renewal of licenses. This will improve the ease of doing business. The passport office will also be provided with all the needed assistance to ensure that sometimes they tell you that some few machines are printing our passport here and there. So when it gets spoiled, the entire nation is in limbo. Now more machines are going to be procured for the passport office, so that there will be no more machine has spoiled. Ghanaians are going to be trained so that they take care, so that people will not say that the trainer is in Germany. Now the trainer will be in Ghana here. Immediately it spoils, then the person is available. That is what we are going to do. The era of the Guru boys, we will find them different jobs. They will be trained under the project to facilitate the acquisition of the passport through a more defined way, not what they are doing, that they are trying to correct back. They tell you passport is about 10 million. But I have never seen any receipt getting to the government of that value, 10 million. No. Sometimes, is it 2 million, 1.5, that is what is getting to the government, 100 Ghana. But some of them say they collect about, they pay about 1,000 Ghana for a passport. And it is delivered in 2 weeks or a week. And if a Goro can deliver at that speed, why can't we deliver at 77?
Please, you have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. So DVLA test drive, I've also said about DVLA, there will be test drives for them. They will go to the universities. We have seen that the universities, definitely most of our civil servants may come there, from there. And when they come, a young man, when he moves to certain position, he's still very strong. And you have to find a driver for him. We want all those coming from the universities able to drive. Yes, so that when you come and you're a young man, you drive your own car nicely and you move around. DVLA will be going, so they will reduce, we want them to reduce the time they take to register the cars from 6 hours to 2 hours. That is our target. And we believe sincerely. So they are also part of those who are going to get special cars for simulation driving. And in that car, you sit in like how our kids, they usually use computers, to drive. You sit in, the car is moving. If there is a zebra crossing, you will be asked a question. What is this? If there is a cow, you won't say chop by. If you say chop by, it is wrong. Yes, it's a simulation. So that when you are there, you see as if you are on the road, 50 kilometers per hour, then you will know how you bring the speed down. Or tests. Immediately after, the result is delivered to you. So that you face, not somebody telling you, go and do this, go and do that. He goes and marks somewhere, and at the end of it, or somebody who did not come there for the test gets the passport that Ghanaians has now crying. Now the system is digitized. You get your passport, it gets to the national database. You pass, and you pass very well. And not somebody who sits there, he doesn't know. It will be in several languages. And sometimes you understand what you are doing. So for instance, if you are a can, and they see that they have a cow there, then they will tell you, Abua Baby. Then you say, what do we do here? Aha, a day the extra war, or see a day, was me Yankodi Choba. Then you are failed. So, Mr. Moderator, Honorable Minister, Mr. Moderator, in conclusion, effective governance at the local level facilitates citizens and private sector participation in development. Successive governments have made strong progress in improving the service delivery at the local level. The initiative to improve the local economic development will greatly provide jobs for the youth. And we also believe that the institutional and human resource capacity of MMDAs must be strengthened comprehensively to improve service delivery to the citizens and the private sector. And for us, the private sector, I think this is not enough. We are going to public sector reforms. We are going to do more. We are going to do more, and we are trying to raise a lot of funds to support. So from here, it is my humble appeal. We'll go out giving out this document, which is National Public Sector Reform Strategy, to all the ministries and agencies. And we'll sit down with them. Anybody who finds the need that there should be an improvement in some areas that is of pertinent issue to the nation, we will craft a project out of it, out of this project, and we will assist that ministry or agency to source for funds. We will go for donor funding in the course of the year. Thank you, Mr. Moderator.
Thank you very much.
CEO of Public Sector, ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all apologize on behalf of the Honorable Daniel Bochwe, Minister for Regional Reorganization for Development, for not being here because he's a bit unwell. My Deputy Minister, Honorable Martin Ajemen Sakosa, is out of town, so I'm here to do the presentation for the Honorable Minister. Taking a cue from the moderator, I'll start with the name of the ministry. The ministry is called Ministry for Regional Reorganization and Development. There are two keywords here: reorganization and development. If we take 69, 79, and 92 constitutions, we will see that there's provision for reorganizing regions in Ghana. And I say reorganization is a key word because this can be done in three ways. What we did last year was through the creation of new regions. That is only one way. It is also provided in the Constitution that two regions can decide that for some reasons they think they will be better off coming together. And that is allowed under our Constitution. So you have merger of regions. That's another way of reorganizing regions. And the third way is that some people can decide to change the boundary between regions. For example, in the last case, we had Ahafo asking to be a separate region. They could have said that traditionally, historically, we are part of Ashanti region, so we want to join Ashanti region. So in that case, the border would have just been created in such a way that Ahafo becomes part of Ashanti region, and we still have Ashanti region. So there are three ways of creating regions. Now, if you look at the creation that was done last year, the Constitution provides two ways of doing it. The president can on his own decide that he will create regions. But in this case, what happened was the second option, which is where people petition that they need regions. And we received 6 petitions. The presentation is not coming. We received 6 petitions from various groups in the country. The main reason, there are a number of reasons. Some provided more than 10 reasons why they wanted a region. But the main reasons that ran through all the 6 petitions were that they wanted governance to be brought closer to the people. They also wanted the promotion of even and balanced development. Thirdly, they wanted administrative convenience. And lastly, among the top 4 reasons, they wanted rapid socio-economic development. Sometimes we sit in Accra and we don't imagine what is going on in other parts of the country. Before Savannah was created, if you were in Bole and you had to submit a passport form in Tamale, the traveling distance from Bole to Tamale is 222.6 kilometers. That was the distance somebody needed to cover. And before the Fufuzo Solar Road was done, that could take you more than 8 hours to get from Bole to Tamale. That meant that one day was spent on traveling. The next day was left for office bureaucracies. So you should budget for not less than 3 days just to submit a passport. So these were some of the reasons why people wanted regions created for them. We will look at some of the maps showing you the old region and the new regions that have been created. If you go to our stand, you will have time to look at it clearly and understand it better. First of all, as of 2018, this country had 10 regions. But following from the referendum that was held in December 2018, the 6 new regions were created. So from 2019, we had 16 administrative regions in Ghana. And if you see the first one, the top map is showing the Brown-Ahafo region as it was then known. And we know that 2 new regions were created, the Ahafo region and the Bono East region. But what this means is that there are now 3 regions that used to be formerly known as Brown-Ahafo region. We have the Ahafo region, we have the Bono, and then the Bono East region. What remained after the creation of Ahafo and Bono East is known as the Bono region, not Brown-Ahafo region. So we now have this new development in that area. If you take the northern region, the northeast region and Savannah regions were created out of the northern region, and the central part remained as northern region. The name hasn't changed. But of course, because the demarcations have changed, we have to take that into consideration. So 3 regions came out from the northern region. Then we had the Oti region, which raised a lot of media attention because of the circumstances surrounding the petition for a region. The southern part remains what was called Volta region, and the northern part is called the Oti region. We now also have the Western North region created out of the Western region. And the map will indicate to you how that was created. If you look at the key indicators, the target for the ministry was to reorganize the administrative regions of Ghana. And one indicator that we used to measure was the number of information, education, and communication programs that were organized. You will understand that dealing with various stakeholders with various requests, if you don't come to one understanding, we have a lot of confusion. So right from even the demarcation of the region, various meetings were held for stakeholders. The president set up a commission of inquiry to find out whether the people actually needed the regions created. They had to go around and listen to the people. We had to hold stakeholder meetings as to where the capitals will be sited. You will see from even the siting of district capitals, some confusion that can arise because some people are dissatisfied. So you don't sit in Accra and say because the president has the power and he gets up and declares anywhere as the capital. People will go on the streets and there will be mayhem. So there are several consultations with chiefs, youth and development associations, even church groups in the area, so that you arrive at a consensus as to where to place the capital to ensure peace and development for the area. Our other indicator was number of administrative regions created. And all the 6 got their regions created. The people from local government will tell you that when you have non-partisan elections, turnout is usually very low. But we had a task of getting a turnout of not less than 50%. And out of that 50%, 80% should vote that the region should be created. So here again, we had to go around, educate people with support from agencies like the NCC and others to ensure that we got a very high turnout to get the regions created. The other indicator is number of government services that are available. And this we have done together with the head of local government service, because first and foremost, the RCCs, the regional coordinating councils, had to be created. Decentralized departments had to be set up, and so forth, because these are the agencies that provide services to the people. And if you don't set them off and you say you have created a region, then you haven't done anything yet. The second target we had was to facilitate the development of the newly created regions. And many people keep asking whether we are relevant. The regions were set up. They are not even set up as an RCC, they are not set up on gift list. So you won't be able to get any payment through government. You can't do any procurement either. So how do you abandon them? It's just like giving birth to a child. You don't expect that the child from the very day will be able to compete even to eat with the siblings that are 14 years and over. So you can't just create new regions and leave them to compete with the old regions and say that you've done your job. They have to be nurtured and developed to a point that they can stand on their own, and then they go on their own. Then we also have the number of offices and bungalows provided. You realize that some of these towns that suddenly became regional capitals have challenges with even residential accommodation, not to talk of office accommodation. Previously, it was a district capital, and even in the case of North-East region, it wasn't a district capital. So you have challenges. And I'll tell you that it looks simple when it's done. But when you go through the processes, I remember that in one of the new regions, they have even accused us for increasing rents in the town because We were in a hurry to get official accommodation, which we couldn't find. People had to move into offices to work. And the only building that was available after 2 weeks of negotiation, when the man was not reducing, we were forced to take it. Now they're saying that everybody is following queue from that man's rent and is increasing rent. So there are a lot of challenges that you go through, and you have to be careful that you don't create imbalances at the local level. The processes that we went through to create the regions, those are provided in the Constitution. First of all, the president received 6 petitions. Unfortunately, the font is so small that even you are having a problem reading it. After receiving the petitions, the Constitution demands that the president submits the petitions to the Council of State for their advice. So when the president got the 6 petitions, he forwarded them to the Council of State. The Council of State got back to the president, advising that based upon the petitions that have been submitted, they think that the people have a case, and therefore they should go ahead with the processes that lead to the creation of the region. And the Constitution provides that when the Council of State gives a yes answer, the president sets up a commission of inquiry. So the commission set up a commission of inquiry that was headed by Justice S.A. Brobe, who was a retired Supreme Court judge of Ghana, a former Chief Justice of the Republic of Gambia. He chaired the commission, and they traveled the length and breadth of this country. And in the case of the 6 areas, they went around several times, interacted with various people, the chiefs, various stakeholders like the youth groups, the churches. They also interacted with public sector workers to get their opinion about the region, and finally submitted a report with recommendations to His Excellency the President. After receiving the recommendations of the Commission of Inquiry, it is required by the Constitution that the President forwards the recommendations to the Electoral Commission, who will then organize a referendum. And this referendum was held in December of 2018, 27th December to be specific. And like I told you, the question at the referendum was simple: whether you wanted the creation of the region or not. And turnout had to be 40%. Yes vote had to be 80%. And fortunately, all the 6 petitions went through, and therefore the next step for His Excellency the President was to issue constitutional instruments giving meaning to the results of the referendum. And this His Excellency the President did. He subsequently invited the chiefs and people of the various regions to Jubilee House and handed the constitutional instrument to each region. And that legally is the beginning of that new region.
You can have 5 minutes more.
Oh, thank you. Our key outputs, you know, of course, is that we got the Justice Brobe Commission to submit a report. We also we also supported and collaborated with the Electoral Commission to organize the referendum and got a yes vote in all the 6 areas. We assisted the Attorney General and Minister of Justice to do the CIs that were signed by His Excellency the President, creating the 6 regions. We also got office and residential accommodation for all staff that were sent to the new regions. Now, we will look at some of the things we have provided to the new regions. Apart from offices, we have provided vehicles to the new regions. Each new region currently has 8 vehicles and 5 motorcycles. It may sound very small, but even the old regions are envying them, because most of them don't have such vehicles on the road. Then We have awarded contracts and work has started on the construction of regional coordinating councils. The design was done by the AESL, Architectural and Engineering Services Limited, and we have acknowledged them. And this is how the RCCs for all the 6 new regions will look like. Construction work has started. Go on. This is the aerial view of the Regional Coordinating Council building. Now, government has decided that previously, when we had a regional capital, everything was centered in the regional capital. And logically, it sounds awkward that after we have all struggled, that we were far away from development, one town now takes everything and leaves the rest of us. So government has decided that going forward, we are going to decentralize some of the services to the other districts as well, so that everything is not done in the regional capital. For example, how many times does the regional director of Agri need to meet the regional minister? For which reason he has to be in the same town with the regional minister? In any case, these days there's technology. You can communicate very well with the regional minister, even if you are not in the regional capital. So we have started with 4 decentralized departments: agriculture, education, health, and feeder roads. The reason being that we think that these are for now the key for these new regions to come up. And I'll give you an example. In the Bono East region, the regional directorate for health will be located in Kintampo. The regional education office will be at Nkranza. The regional agri office will be at Atebubu, and the feeder roads office will be at Prague. The regional capital is Techima. So we are decentralizing development to every part of the region. So this is one example. This is the picture that you will see when we complete the construction of the decentralized departments in each of these 4 agencies. And so it means that this job should be completed by July this year. So it means that by July, if you go to Prague, you see a building like this housing feeder roads in that place. Now, the same for the health and all of those. Their contracts, they are supposed to end by July. Then we also are constructing bungalows for the senior personnel. So for each of these decentralized departments, we are putting up a bungalow for the regional director and the deputy regional director. That is construction started in 2019 and will be completed by June, July this year. There are other programs that we will do for this year. So this is the senior staff bungalow that will be put up for all the decentralized department, the regional director and the deputy. Then we also have 3 of these in each regional capital. Construction has started. Those 3 will be for the regional minister, deputy regional minister, and regional coordinating director. When we come to 2020, you see that we have planned to start the construction of residencies. When we finish the residencies, the regional minister and his deputy will move out and other senior staff will take over their bungalows. Can we go? Go on. So if you look at this picture, this is a senior staff bungalow under construction as at 17 December in the Oti region. This one is in Kekikrachi. As the moderator said, there are challenges. You know, the contractors, they complain that they have done 2-3 contracts, they have not been paid, and therefore banks are not ready to advance them money. So it has started slowly, but we are working with Ministry of Finance to get over that. Let me say that one good thing that the president did was that on January 4th, 2018, an interministerial committee to oversee the development of these regions. The committee is headed by the Minister for Regional Reorganization and Development. Other members are the Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, the Minister for Finance, Minister for Planning, Minister for Special Development, Minister for National Security, 7 top ministers. So when there are issues and the committee decides, already the finance minister is there, so nothing is not coming to him as news. So that is helping us move faster than it would normally have been. So we are grateful for the setting up of that committee. So I think we've seen some of the things that are going on. We'll move to jobs that have been created as a result. Hey, I thought I was here ahead of time. So we'll move to jobs that have so far been created as a result of this construction work. We have a total of 531 people employed for this construction. By January ending, when finance makes money available to them, this number will increase to 2,792. Our outcomes have been the strengthened coordinating functions of the administrative regions. We have reduced administrative inconvenience. There's also the potential to reduce rural-urban migration. And then the opportunities have been created for the youth to participate in the development of their areas. We still have a few minutes. I don't have. So I'll take the rest in question time if anything is not clear to you.
I think we can do it better for the rent increment multiplier effect through the creation of regions.
Very much, Mr. Moderator, Deputy Ministers, Chief Directors. I see the Deputy Commissioner NDPC, Vice Chairman NDPC, and staff of MMDAs, citizens, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. It's my pleasure to join you this afternoon. Indeed, we are at cabinet meeting, but I sought permission to come because I thought if we are discussing deepening decentralization and digitization to improve quality service, local government has to be here because decentralization is our business. And it's our business throughout every ministry, every department, every district, every city, every town, every village, every place. Whatever happens is our business. So I have to come to you. More importantly, to hear some of the things you want to say about what is happening in decentralization. But to start with, let me tell you what we've done and what we are all about. The Ministry for Local Government, our key goal is to improve on development, ensure balanced development in the country, and enhance governance and participation. That is our goal. To ensure good governance, equitable and balanced development at the local level. And we do this by formulation of policies for effective decentralized government. We facilitate rural development, promote development of our human settlements, facilitate the registration of births and deaths, and promote participation of civil society, everybody in the business of government. Our constitution provides that we should, as much as possible, decentralize governance, make decentralization a reality in our national governance system. So the essence is to ensure participation. Everybody feels part of the government system. Everybody gets involved in the government system. So for the 2017, when we took about, we set out 5 areas as our output to be our outcomes areas. Increased participation of citizens in democratic governance, increased funding and financial management at the local level, increased economic growth at the local level, and improved service delivery at the local level, then improved administrative and human resource capacity at the local level, everything at the local level. The action is at the local level. Whatever happens, it manifests itself within the local level. So all the flagship projects, all the projects that are happening in this country, planting for food and agriculture, 1D, 1F, one village, one dam, all of them, they manifest at the local level. So the action is at the local level. And our business is to ensure that we have in place the structures and the systems to ensure that these things are planned well. And the ingredients for decentralization is planning, financing, and human resource development. For human resource development, we have the Office of the Head of Local Government Service taking care of that. They are responsible for recruiting all the staff. And for the past 3 years, they've recruited over 2,000 staff and have even got clearance to recruit more. They just don't only recruit, ensure that they train them, they are well trained, and the standards are there. They set up appraisal methods and appraise them annually, starting with the coordinating director to the staff. So the Office of the Head of Local Governments is more or less an independent body responsible for the human resource capacity of the district assemblies, and thereby provide. In fact, they take care of more staff than even the civil service of Ghana, because they have to place staff in all the districts in the country, and sometimes even in the metro sub-district level, they place people there. And they are so far been very, very effective in these structures. Then we have the Institute of Local Government Studies that provides capacity building. It initially was under the government, but now we have made it independent so that they also outsource, they get consultancy to be able to take care of themselves. So in terms of funding, we still support a bit, but they are also independent in terms of funding arrangements. So in the first outcome, increased participation of citizenry in governance, the ministry organizes through the district assemblies town hall meetings. We organize town hall meetings, and for the period that we have now, we organize about 788 town hall meetings with over 50,000 participants across all the districts. About 90 districts have done that, and other districts too are carrying on with their town hall meetings. The essence of the town hall meetings is for the districts to tell them what we are doing and get people's views on what they are doing, people's participation, and also show them their programs and their plans. First of all, know what the people want, the aspirations of the people, the things they want to be done, and the services they want, and then plan for them and provide for them. The planning angle is taken care of by the National Development Planning Commission. The National Development Planning Commission develops the planning guidelines, just like they do for MDAs, they do for districts as well. And then all the districts, supported by their various regions, support the coordinate the planning for various districts. The districts do their plans, the assembly members, they go out with the technical staff, decide on what to do, they put everything together, send it to the regional level for coordination. So we have the planning mechanisms, and increasingly they are also getting computerized, digitized in the process. We are not, this aspect is not fully digitized yet, but the aspiration of MDPC is to ensure that the planning process is quite digitized. Data is at one spot. We can, at a press of a nod, gather all the data that is required. For funding, we have the DACF. The Constitution provides for the DACF at least 5% of the resources of the country is applied for district level activities, and all the expenditure emanates from their plans. And for the period 2017 to 2016 to 2019, we have transferred 2.5 billion to the districts. 2017, over 660 million, 2018 over 698 million, and 2019 nearly 500 million. If you compare to the past figures, for example, in 2016, the capping to 5% notwithstanding, 2016, for example, was supposed to be 7.5%, but the monies that were transferred was 461. So over the various 3 years, monies transferred have been far more than that. We have what we also call the DDF, District Development Funding, and the DPAT. Now we've added another acronym called the DPAT. The district DDF is District Development Fund, and the DPAT is the District Performance Assessment Tool. It enables the ministry to mobilize funding and transfer to districts to provide some services. The district decide on what services they want to provide. But again, this must be in the plan that has been approved by the district assemblies. So for the period 2017 to 2019, we have transferred a total of over 500 million for the period of the 3 years, over 500 million. And let me say that the DDF is based on the assessment, but also counterpart funding. So for 2013, 2014, 2015, no monies were transferred because of the lack of counterpart funding. By 2017, the Minister of Finance made available 20 million. So that enabled us to activate this process, and we started. Now, what we've done to get away from the challenge of counterpart funding is to align it with the District Assembly Common Fund, so that we are using what we call the responsiveness factor to assess the districts, and the responsiveness factor is now what we are using in place of the counterpart funding, so that the District Assembly Common Fund will transfer monies kept as the responsiveness factor. Responsiveness factor is how well they are doing in the collection of their RGF, their internal generated funds. And we would then mobilize funding, add this onto this, and then we'll set some kind of formula, assess them on various issues. And there are so many issues that we assess them, how well they are doing on their finance, whether they hold assembly meetings, whether they are following their plan, whether they are adopting climate change activities, whether they are also including economic activities, and we'll give some points for all that. So they have the opportunity to get additional funding. And we have a program also called UDG. It has just closed, but we developed a secondary program. And some 44 districts have 224 million to support their service delivery. The districts do their RGF. A total of RGF for the period 2017-2019. 2019, we didn't quite collect them, but for 2017, they had 290 million, over 290 million. 2018, 343 million. 2019, we've got only the few quarters, but I'm sure it will also all be in the neighborhood of over 300 million. We've been able to do all this because of certain initiatives that the ministry has put in place for digitization. For example, now we are supporting them with a program with the support of GIZ, a program called DLREF. And this DLREF enables them to develop their spatial data and physical data. Physical data means looking at businesses in their communities, plotting them out in space. They will do the physical plan, and then it is fed onto a software. They will be able to look at what businesses they can levy, what businesses they can collect fees from, and also what properties are available in the districts for them to rate. The rateable properties are now all computerized. We've been able to do that effectively in about 60 districts. And for those who are interested, if you go to Adenta just nearby, AMA, Adenta, AMA, Suhum, Takoradi, you see that they are on that, and TMA. But the best in the country so far, I think, is Adenta district. And other districts are there, but we are working on the system now, and we will move on to more districts thereabouts. So eventually, all these issues about property rating and all that will enhance their income generating fund. They'll have their own resources. The essence of decentralization is for them to decide on what they want for their community and get resources to implement those communities out. On the board there is the software I'm talking about. It shows the physical data as well as the spatial data. The spatial data is the properties, houses that we live in and all that. And you can use it to generate bills for property rates, bills for business licenses, bills for, and we also know who are the defaulters in the system. At the touch of the button, you know who are defaulters. If it's at a certain period, now they should be in a position to generate property rate bills in the first 2 months, if they so wish, for their communities. And they should set a date for when the bills will be recorded. And the software will indicate when these bills should have been collected and they have not been collected. So now this person is a defaulter and you can chase up to follow up on the bill. So we have all that. And as I indicated, we are doing that now in 6 districts. We also are working on what we call construction permits. We started in Greater Accra. This Greater Accra will be doing that we've done in 5, and we'll continue in 29 districts. After Greater Accra, we'll move on. And the whole idea is computerize, digitize the construction system. If someone wants a construction permit, the person should be clear. How many days am I going to use to get this contract? And if I start the process, when should I have my permit? And do I have to go, once I submit the documents, should I be going from officer to officer? That should not be the case. You submit your documents online, and it tells you, it gives you a cue when you should do what, when you should submit what, and when you should be expecting your permit. And your permit can also be given to you online to be printed. It will be printed. We started that in TMA, that's Tema Metropolitan Assembly, AMA, and Lagna. We're hoping to move on to all the districts in Greater Accra region, and then continue to the various other districts in the country. We are starting with Accra, but hopefully we'll be able to move on to all the other places in the country. We know that the district assemblies are now hooked onto what we call the gift mix system. So it supports their financial arrangement. Now they load on through the codes, they put their invoices in the system, they go, whatever they need, they go to the system, the approvals are done in the gift mix systems, and then payments are generated electronically. So they are digitized, all the district assemblies now are hooked on to the Ministry of Finance gift mix system. We are developing a local government financial bill. The Attorney General has looked at it, it has approved it. So we want to have a local government finance management act eventually. And this act will harmonize all the financial operations of the district assemblies in line with the Procurement Act, and also provide for municipal financing, municipal borrowing. It will allow the districts to borrow money for provision of services in their communities. But this will be regulated by the law. You just don't go and borrow. There are certain conditions that will be laid, and there are certain responsibilities that will be laid on you. So this financial act will soon be passed. That indicates the extent to which we have been able to improve on IGF at the district level. Between 2017 to 2018, they had an increase of 18%. Now, between 2017 and 2018, we had an increase of 23.51%. That indicates that the districts of themselves are improving on their IGF. Definitely, we want the increase to go on, but they are improving and they are making use of the various software programs that have been provided for them in this regard. Let's move on to the.
You have 7 minutes.
7 minutes, okay. Let's move on to the increased economic development outcome. We have developed a local economic development policies. We've trained all the district assemblies on that, and they are supposed to ensure that when they do their plans, they have the indicators that they are doing to promote economic development of the place. And as we all know, they are working on the one DOIF, one district, one factory, and they are now the district assemblies were focusing more on services, but we also say that it's important to look at the economic aspect of it. If you have the services and your economic is not growing, you will not be able to maintain the services. So the orientation is now moving into economic activities and supporting economic activities of their community. We have what we call the planting for export and rural development. The districts themselves were supported initially to develop seedlings. That's our driving our rural development policy that we have developed. The districts themselves were supported to do that. They developed the seedlings in various crops, cash crops, cashew, coconut, cocoa, mango, but we are trying that eventually we will take share nut as well. But the main ones are cashew, coconut, mango, and cocoa. And they are doing very well at that. They are doing very well. We had about 90,000, the first year, 90,000 hectares were cultivated. So moving on to about 4 years, we're going to be putting money into the hands of our people in the community. They are provided seedlings free of charge so that they all cultivate one. You know, the agric ministry is decentralized. So working through the agri department at the various levels to support this program. And it's going on very well. We had a program called GISOP. Now we've gone to the second phase. It's called the Productive Safety Net. Under the GISOP, we have what we call the Labor Intensive Public Works Program. We provided labor and wages to the tune of 17 million to people in rural communities. Mostly, these were in the northern Volta and the northern regions. So 17 million going into the hands of people as wages. In addition, we've been able to do a lot of activities in the area of earth dams, in the area of feeder roads. The labor intensive program, what they do is that we hire them to provide labor to do their own roads, take care of their own feeder road system, support in the development of the dams, and the support in any other local construction work that is going on. And then also developing plantations for the period 2017-2018, in addition to the 140 plantations in this regard. The SIF, Social Investment Fund, is also a program under the ministry. For the period 2017 to now, they've been able to support and complete 265 sub-projects in health and education. Health, cheap compounds, nurses' quarters in education, teachers' quarters, 6-unit classroom blocks, and this has been done throughout the country. The Ghana Productive Safety Net project that is continuing from this program will also this year be doing about 80 feeder roads 80 dams, and also doing about 160 plantations, covering 1,500 hectares. So these are all projects to support rural development communities. You all know about the National Digital Addressing System that is going on. It is a program that the Ministry of Local Government is very much involved in, and this is part of improving services to our local communities. We're doing street naming, and now NAPCO is supporting in the process to help tag houses. So what will happen is that we generate the street name, generate the unique numbers of the houses. When I say we, I mean the district assemblies, but of course we are providing the key and the guidelines. And in one plate, you will see the street name, you will see the digital address of that particular number. So NAPCO staff will be recruited, they are already in the system. They'll go in front of the house lord will tell them the specific gate that they will be using, and then stand there, generate the number, put it in the database. Then on a plate, they'll put this digital address number, put the street number, and also put the unique property number that the district assemblies have put in their system. So in the end, we're going to have a national register, a national database of all properties in the country and their addresses. And this will help businesses as well. This will help businesses, banks, and all that you want to get a loan, and all other businesses that need unique addresses. And they can use this database to facilitate whatever address or system that you've given them. As part of the service delivery and also linked to economic development, we are doing what we call alternative livelihood program. The ministry departments include community development, it includes the BEVs and DEVs, it includes parks and gardens, and the bigger local government sector includes, of course, the headquarters, the ministry, these departments, as well as Office of the Head of Local Government Service and the District Assembly Common Fund. Community development has 24 vocational and technical institutes, and every year they train, focusing on communities, people from rural communities. You don't have to be lettered, you don't have to have any academic grading to participate in it, but they go there to learn various trades. They learn carpentry, electrical works, beading, dressmaking, fashion design. And we're able to tie in former galamseyers, youth who are engaged in galamseying. We're able to go to the communities, about 18 districts, identify some youths who are interested in training, so funded them, supported them. 500 have passed out. 500 have passed out. Some of them have even been, those who did electrical works have even been recruited by VRA. Some are now helping them in their electrical works. Some were doing masonry, some did plumbing work, and we provided them with tools. So 500 have passed out. Another 500 is in the school, in the various technical schools, scattered all over the country. We are supporting in the various central galamsey program to ensure that our youth find other livelihood to continue, but not to focus on galamsey work. Okay. Finally, let me say that we promise that we will be reducing the central retention of District Assembly Common Fund. We are ensuring that more of the District Assembly Common Fund now goes to the district. For example, in 2016, the net transfer from Common Fund to districts was 33%. In 2017, we ensured that the net transfer was 46.52%. And in 2018, 53% was transferred. So as much as possible, we are not retaining the money at the center. We are letting the money go. And even where money is retained in the center, is the districts who have to write a resolution saying ABC. The instances where we kept the money at center was, for example, ensuring that the 44 new district assemblies we created have offices. And they all now, at least various stages of construction of 44 new offices, as well as buying them All the districts now have, all the DCs and all the districts have at least 2 vehicles, a pickup and either a Nissan Patrol, or most of them are Nissan Patrols, and then pickup. So every single district is getting this kind of initiative. So, moderator, a number of activities are going on in the district. We are very, very busy. We are ensuring that there is good governance in the country. We supervise the districts. We ensure that things go on smoothly. Where there is issue, we ensure that we meet the challenges and we deal with the challenges. It allows for peace and progress. And good governance, democracy and good governance is so key for the vulnerable. When you have a dictatorship doesn't care about people the people with vulnerabilities. It is good governance and democracy that pursues the interest of the vulnerable. So decentralization, did you put me off? So decentralization is very key. And let me end on the note that is why we're pursuing the agenda for election of MMDCs. That's why we're pursuing that agenda. For the people at the local level to decide who should be their mayor. And eventually, bit by bit, they'll be able to take away the power from the center to take care of their matters and affairs. And this is something that we had a president that was saying, allow the local level to take the power. And we didn't jump at it. It's an area that I think citizens of Ghana, you should not give up. You should pursue to get your MMDCs elected. Thank you very much. He ceases to be my technical advisor.
Please, I want to ask, who are qualified for the passports office to go? Because it's about a time now I'm processing my passport. When you go, they said you have to see a special person to take a long process. So you have to pay this an amount. And the next thing they will ask is your birth certificate. And the birth certificate, they will tell you before they will conclude on it. It will take time. So can you get some 500 Ghana, 200 Ghana, so that they'll link you up to an immediate person to connect you and quickly do it for you within a week.
Okay, so about the Goro business.
Yes.
Okay, so who is, thank you very much.
My second question is the common fund. Who are qualified for the common fund? Because when you go to the district assembly or the municipal assembly, I go around the regions to empower the youth, the women and people in skills development like soap making, batik, local clay beads manufacturing and so many other things. I fall on the DCEs and so many. By the time you get there, they'll say, oh, we have to lobby through the MPs and so many other things. The Commonwealth Fund, the common fund, you know, it's already finished before it arrives. So where does it go to?
It's not as common as you thought. Okay.
Yes. So that's my question. Thank you.
My name is Welbeck Chum. I belong to the Ghana Monitoring and Evaluation Forum. I have questions for each of the presenters, if you may allow me. For public sector reforms, I caught this in your presentation on modernizing and improving working conditions. And I do realize that the government is the largest employer. And if you enter into most of our offices, the MDAs, MMDAs, you realize...
Kindly go straight to the question.
Yes, you realize that these offices, number one, are disability unfriendly, many of them. Number two, you see that the offices themselves do not have good washroom sanitary conditions, people working in it. And sometimes you have a lot of people crammed in one office, which I think...
What's the question?
My question is that if you are into modernizing and improving working conditions, what are you doing about these for our own workers? The second question to the Ministry of Regional Organizations, the target 2 that you mentioned have gotten to do with providing vehicles, motorcycles, and then offices and bungalows. And in the beginning of your presentation, you did say that some people are asking why you are still in existence when you have done the original reorganization. But if you do these activities, it means that the more you finish building, you've built it. And that is the end of it. They are terminal indicators. Does that mean that when you are done with the building of it, you concede that then your ministry is no more relevant for national development? And then maybe a harmless one to the Minister for Local Government. You mentioned the labor-intensive public works, which I know build dams that have existed for over a while. Yet you also mentioned One Village, One Dam. And many of these dams under One Village, One Dam are getting collapsed. Don't you think that that model, if it is handled by labor-intensive public works, they can build better dams? Thank you.
My name is Ketchup Satengle. I'm with Pax Africa, and we, as part of our work, advocate for systemic use of evidence in policymaking and other social development activities. I have two questions, all directed to the Public Sector Reform Secretariat. One is that it's very useful. I have a copy of the strategy. And
so what's your question on a copy of the strategy you have?
That's what I'm going at. So my question is, how are we, with all these indicators that we've outlined? I've gone through the monitoring evaluation framework that is in there, and I am asking how, because governance is a collective effort, how is the data, all these indicators that are going to be produced, how are they going to be shared with other interested stakeholders like ourselves, so we can interrogate and kind of see how well governance is going or how the secretariat is going in all these areas. My second question is, how are we, one of the risks that is indicated here is on sustainability. It's not clearly stated, but that's how it's captured. Beyond, we know in this country we've had change of governments and all these things. How are we going to ensure that these things transcend this current administration, should there be that change? Because I see in the one of the mitigation plans is to ensure cross-party buy-in to support this whole implementation. But then the practice, we know that it's always better you engage these actors in the design, better than for you to design and then now want to get their buy-in. It's difficult. We saw it in the previous government when they brought in the long-term development plan. It was difficult to secure buy-in even at that level. And this current administration came in and we've not heard of that again.
I have two questions, one to Mr. Kusibuafo and another to the Honorable Minister of Local Government and Rural Development. First off, a key takeaway for me during the presentation of Mr. Kusibuafo was when he spoke about the decentralization of the resource fair, and that is the public accountability process. Can we also consider, he made mention that they're going to decentralize to the regional level. Can we also consider further devolving it to the district level and to be conducted possibly in the local languages? And my question to the Honorable Minister for Local Government and Rural Development is, on the amendment of the Article 55.3, and that is the President's readiness to cede his power of appointment to the people. Is it that it's entirely stalled? And what is the progress on it? Because we are ready to fully support the President to ensure that he will be able to deliver on this flagship promise. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. We were looking for you last year to support it, but yes, the next one.
Thank you. My name is Emmanuel Aisi. I am a senior research fellow at IDEC, Institute for Democratic Governance. I have a PhD in public admin, so my question will go to Mr. Kusibuafo. public sector. I had a number of them. I will limit it to just one. My question is, I'm not so enthused about public sector reforms and all that, because if you check the literature, a number of reforms have been undertaken over the years, and it virtually comes back to where we are. But I am excited about this one because, like you said, there's a clear strategy behind it now, and it's as if they have a clear focus where they want to go. Two things came up for me. He talked about inefficiency and ineffectiveness in the sector. And at the core of it, I mean, Madam was talking about DVLA and how if you want to get license, your passport. At the center of that is this corruption thing that I didn't hear him talk about. I have followed him. I know how passionate he is about corruption. I know how passionate our president is.
So what's your
the question is, what are the specific strategies or mechanisms to address public sector corruption in Ghana? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Moderator. Really, this is a very good opportunity for some of us to make a point here. We see this as a country hall meeting, as an aspect of social accountability.
So your question?
So my question, I'm speaking on the note that a DLRF issue that he spoke about. The very good intervention for the ministry. If we are looking at a physical decentralization, which is really suffering in the hands of the various governments, it is a way to go to improve IGF. But then you can see that the rural districts, the smaller districts, cannot go hand in hand with this for now. It will take some time. What are the measures that you are putting in place to ensure that maybe the bigger districts are weaned off from the district common fund, and also increase the percentage, which used to be 7.5 and now gone back to 5%. If we are really talking about deepening the local structures, we need to look at this. So what are the measures that are in place in response to that?
I am a communications analyst. The first one will go to the public sector. Unfortunately, I wasn't here, but I just want to know from Mr. Bob, I've been listening to him very well. The first part, Rwanda example, maybe it wasn't cited here. I'll draw his attention, Ghanaians were involved. Two, what is he doing to get Ghanaians?
Please, the first one, is it a question or?
No,
it's not that your question is.
The question is quickly coming.
Let the question.
What is he doing to involve Ghanaians beyond, because a lot of things going on there, there are some Ghanaians around who can help him to make the thing faster. Two, to the second speaker who dealt with the issue of regions, he made mention of only the Bono East, Bono West, the Bono East, where the areas are going to be. Meanwhile, Western, what do you call it? Western North. Yeah. They are fighting over that thing. You did not talk about it. Then you go to Oti, where Jessica has got everything sitting down. Then the thing has been given to Damba, where you are going to spend so much there. Three, Minister for Local.
So what is your question there?
I'm asking why they did not look. What are they doing now to ameliorate? Because that problem we are not aware how far they solved. Then the Dambai and the Jessica, I know the head was going to another place. He has not mentioned that. I want him to.
So you want him to mention it?
Yes. Then three, the aspect of the local government where they are decentralization, digitization. I've been hearing this word, digitization, going on in the country. I want to know what it is. Is it because it is a digit inside, or when it is in, it is digitized? If it is not in, it is not done. Then,
do you want to know the meaning of digitization?
No. Okay. What I'm saying is that it has become a cliche. The reality is that if it is in, it has been digitized. If it is not in, it is not there. That is all. But they are making it, they are using it to make us, those of us who might not know become something, and they are making all of them use it. Therefore, computerization, what is it? If it is in, watch, you can look at it. If it is not in.
So what's the question?
The question is, I want to find out what they are doing to make sure if the money, national health, if it is one person, let it go to that source at the bank, just like how you write.
So you want to see how digitization is working?
No.
But what is your question?
It's a kind of a way of finding out that are they finding tune to make sure that those cliches are gone and we do what is real.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Public Sector, I want to know the kind of people or firms which can seek funding from your area. And my second question goes to Honorable Hajia Bahama. That's what you achieved so far. When you're making this achievement, you might have encountered some problems or challenges. Can you share with us which challenges you faced that prevented you from achieving what you plan to do? And what are some of the lessons learned that can help us in any future scale up? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have, last one so that we can address it.
Thank you very much. My name is Ebenezer Owusuado, a research fellow at K University. My question goes to Honorable Hajia Halima. I just want to find out, do we have a rural development policy framework as a nation? Okay, that is all.
What I can tell you is that we are developing a client service charter. That when you even go, you know where to go. You will be told about your responsibilities. It is not, for instance, some people go and what they are also required to bring along, they don't know. So definitely they will be asking people. Now, there will be a client service charter which is developed and customized by each of the agencies and ministries. So by the time that you go, you will definitely know where you will direct your questions, where you will be going directly without necessarily engaging somebody. But passports may also, online application is also going to be in place. It is in place. Yes, that is it. It is in place now. It will be enhanced. And even we are looking at a situation where the delivery of the passport will be at your doorstep or your choice, where you should be. In place. No, delivered, yes. So that is what we have. So a matter of moving to a place all the time, or when time becomes so critical that you go for a passport, will be a thing of the past. You yourself, you know that I want a passport, I need a passport to travel for the next 3 months, I will need a passport. But you wait until it is about a week. And when you go, instead of getting to the official, you rather ask those who are standing by where they should direct you. And usually you'll be directed by the Guru boys. And when they finish, definitely they will ask for a lunch. Yeah, they will ask for a lunch. So you yourself, each of the services, there will be a client service charter, which will be published. It will be at the website of each of the institutions. So if you need a passport, you go there and you see your responsibilities, the requirements for passport, and where to go. If you want driving licenses, you go to their websites. You know your requirement, what you are to bring along. Yes. So sometimes the activities of the Guru boys, usually you are even enhancing their activities. Yes. You are even enhancing their activities. So we expect that you don't root back. So that is what we are doing. Everything is going to be digitized. Digitization will remove the human interface a lot, and that is what we are doing. The Vice President said that 2 weeks ago that it is a way of trying to solve some of these problems if there is no human interface. That is when I think if you fill for passport online, how can the system tell you that pay bribe? I hope you understand it. Yes, so we are going to do that. And it is there, it is in place. Now from now onwards, if you want a passport, you fill online. Now, the issue of working condition, what we are doing to improve the working conditions, I think most of the ministries are doing better. We heard the Ministry for Regional Organization and Integration, Development. They are putting up nice houses. You've seen that. You saw them. They are getting the brand new cars. These are improvement of working conditions. Look at how the local government ministry also talk about a system where they are now getting computers. They are now have to work with software. Their skills are being updated, They are improving, they are developing the staff, proper capacity building. If you listen to them, all these things are there to improve the working condition aspects. The soft side is about the human development. The other one is also, now there is a facelift. Even if you look at this conference hall, within the past 3 years, you've seen the remarkable transformation of this area. We launched the strategy 2018. It was appalling. This washroom, very few people were able to use the washroom here. But today when you go there, what do you see? Hasn't it been changed? It has been changed. So gradually, changes are going on in the various ministries. They are becoming better and better and better. Even though you may say that some areas you will see one or two things, but it is a process that has started. So definitely, as we go on, some area will be modernized. The bigger one is the decongestion of the ministerial enclave, which is a huge investment we need to do. The ministerial enclave, when you go there, you see so many things. Is that not it? That is why you call poor working condition. Some people selling coconut here and there, shouting. Some are selling momone around that particular place and the rest. These are things we will make sure that it will become a thing of the past. So gradually, we are trying to improve. Other things about our own attitude. You sit on a chair, that you need one nail, one leg is broken. Just a single nail can do it. Is that not it? But you go and the chair is still hanging. Then you ask yourself, these are things you can do yourself. The wash places, the wash rooms, some people have been engaged to clean the place. Proper supervision. It is proper supervision. So we expect that at least the working condition, gradually, as we go on, will improve. There is an improvement that has already started. But we believe Rome was not built in a day. Now that we all know beautiful things, now we'll make the place beautiful. Even though at this point in time, you may think that I can admit that we've not been able to do all, but at least we have started. There have been some remarkable improvement. The third question is sharing the results outcome of the M&E, and then we want to M&E, how to share the results outcome. So M&E, you see, monitoring and evaluation, even though I'm not the person to answer this question for them, is that ultimately their mandate is not to be doing like sheep and goats, like the way results are mentioned, that this ministry is first, this is second, this is red. Their role principle is to advise cabinet and for policy shaping, and all that. So they are in a serious advisory position. But the results and the impacts will be known to you. At this result fair, you've seen so many things that they have been able to do. So many things. Somebody saw railway development and the Ministry for Railway, and they saw the railway development. he asked me whether indeed he's seeing these things in Ghana or it's a different country. And I told the person, this is Ghana. Ghana is doing this. So some of the things you are seeing there are the results, the impact. It is monitoring and evaluation. We want to see how the impact it is making in the lives of the people. The Ministry of Local Government talk about a very extensive impact they are making. And that is the M&E aspect. So the M&E is there, the impact is manifesting in the ministries that you all see. Are you not seeing the planting for food and jobs? Are you not seeing the planting for export and rural developments? Do we have a situation where, under the monitoring and evaluation, if you want to know, go and ask. This morning, Minister of Education was around. The minister was around himself. You saw the increase in students attending the senior high school. That is a result, an impact that it's making in the lives of people. So ours is results being manifested, and the citizens are being engaged to vividly see results themselves. And you feel the results. So at this results fair, you will see results, you will feel results, you will appraise the results yourself. So when you walk around, you see so many things. All these things are in Ghana. They are not in Togo. They are in Ghana. Now, the next one is about sustainability. Yes, we believe that sustaining the policy, this particular strategy, is very important. Yes, that political parties, now sustaining it depends on how they are going to be resource-based. Resourcing it is also important. All these things that we are talking about this particular strategy and how we carry out reforms, if you don't have money, you can't do that. That is why most of the past reforms, most of them fail as a result of resourcing. It's very expensive. In fact, reforms alone will run into several billions of dollars. So when you see, it is part of what the local government have said they are doing. You know, these are all part of the reforms. We are moving alongside. So we are moving together. They saw a lot, how much, they have invested a lot in digitization. When you go to DVLA, they have also invested a lot in digitization. So funds are being sought here and there, you know, for reforms activities that are going on in all the places. So that is sustainable, but we need to look for more of the funds. And there are a lot more things to be done. And concerning the parties' stakeholder consultation, before the strategy came out, we went around Ghana inviting everybody for an input. In fact, this strategy was started by the previous government. Let me tell you for a fact, it was started by the previous government, and it is part of the IMF conditionalities that we need to have public sector reform strategy. The previous government started it. They couldn't finish, they left. The new government came, and we saw that it is a very good approach. And the president said, let us continue. We shouldn't abandon this laudable idea. And we indeed continue it, and we finish it. So the credits, it will go to all of them, all inclusive. So it is not a document. So if another government comes, they should also continue the same way this government also did. So it is a document that started from 2016. And the current government came to power. They also took it. We further develop it. Now it is a working document. And I believe that per this approach, no other government coming will say that it is unnecessary. So it has continuity. The other one is the decentralization of the results fair to the various districts. We are praying that Ministry for Monitoring and Evaluation, now that this thing has come across, when we finish the regional one, more funds will be sought for the district ones. So next year, when you are planning, include the districts, and we'll also find a way or getting some funding for you to do it. This is what the people want. This is accountability and citizen engagement. If you are doing something for them and they are not involved, they will tell you that everything is Accra. Somebody called me yesterday and said that, oh, as for Ghana, it is Accra and others. And I said, why did you say that? I said, oh, after this fair, you will not come to voter region. I said, please, we shall be there. So Minister for Monitoring and Evaluation, don't allow people to say that as for this, it is Accra and others.
Thank you
it
very much.
Input.
It is not Accra and the rest.
So
let's give him a round of applause. Good, so...
More or less. The gentleman in smoke asked about whether when we finish providing vehicles and buildings, then our work is finished. We are talking about the monitoring and evaluation fair for 2019. If Ministry of Roads and Highways were here, they will tell you the roads and highways they did in 2019. Doesn't mean that they have finished their work. No. If you go and look for the budget that the Ministry of we do for the ministry, it's a multi-year budget. If you go and get a copy, you see what we will do in 2020. You will see what we will do in 2021 onwards. So it doesn't mean that we are finished. This year, 3 bungalows cannot accommodate staff in a region. So there are going to be programs to build flats for middle-level senior officers and junior officers. We are going to build regional police commands, plus accommodation. Regional hospitals for the 6 new regions. There are things that, a lot of things that are, if you take the budget for 2020, you see all that outline. But we are talking about an M&E fair for 2019. That is why you see it that way. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Then, the second one, he was very direct, so I'll be very direct. The first one he referred to without mentioning the issues were Western North. Western North, the decentralized departments are going to Dwaboso, Bodi, Enchi, and Bibiani. The paramount chief of Sefiyoso, where the capital is, first wrote that he will not allow any office to be built outside Sefiyoso. Is this fair? Now, he realized that the chiefs from Bibiani and Enchi were not happy with that statement. So he wrote to the president, this time changing his request to the president, that Dwaboso and Bodi comes under his paramountcy, and therefore those projects should be in Sefiyoso and not those towns. When we even went there 2 weeks ago for a program, he said a curse has been placed on anybody that will provide us with land in those towns. You think anybody should follow this kind of reasoning? Because if the people are part of you, why don't you want them to benefit from what you are benefiting? If they were from somewhere else and you were talking to them, I understand. But you think that the people in Dwaboso and Bodi will be happy that you say that if anybody can, you are cursing anybody, that will, okay. Now, let's take the case of Dambai. His Excellency the President told the chiefs and stakeholders that you should meet and advise me as to where to place the capital. 4 towns in the Oti area, including where you mentioned Dambai, Ketekrachi, and others, 4, applied to be the capital. They did meet and reverted to His Excellency the President that when they met, they could not agree on any of the 4 towns because nobody wanted to give in. So we are giving you authority as president of this country to choose any of the 4 towns. So where has the president gone wrong if he chose Dambai instead of some other place? They themselves said within themselves they couldn't agree. So how can we now agree for them? It's as simple as that. It's human greed. Take the case of Salaga. You heard that there was some demonstration after Damangu was announced. And it was surprising and shocking to us because that was the least place we expected any problem. Because even if you are chief of Salaga, Okay. And you become Yabongra, you move to Damango. So the chiefs all agree that if that is the case, Damango is the capital. So
thank you very much. The commission, the report is there. It's online. Those who want to understand the intricacies, you can read the report. It has been published, so you will understand it better. Thank you very much, Chief Director.
The ministry was set up, and the work is continuous. You all know that the new regions have teething problems. So the ministry is actually there to supervise and monitor and provide some support mechanisms. And that's why the president has set up a committee of 7 ministers to work with them on that. So there's still a lot of work to go on to get them established. He even gave the examples of the give me's and all that, for example. And the issues and letters sent in by the chiefs were sent to the president. They will be looked at and the appropriate response will be given. So he is a chief director, but this is not for his decision to take. This is the decision that will be taken. The one who asks the question is not listening. The decision will be taken at the political level. Okay. I'm saying that the issues about the region will be taken by the president, and he will direct the committee to work on that. This is not an administrative decision, it's a political decision that will be supporting the process. Okay. BEVs and devs issue, yes, I agree with you, there are some problems. Sometimes you apply for a BEV certificate and it takes time. But we are hoping that with this digitization process, the time will be shortened. And that's why the Ministry of Local Government, when World Bank came up to support this public sector program, we told them that there are 2 places in Ministry of Local Government that we want them to support. That's BEVs and devs, automate BEVs and devs, so that the processes and provide them with the logistics, so that they'll be able to respond to the needs of the people, because everybody now wants a BEV certificate, and they are not able to do that. Now, we've worked with finance. Finance is allowing them to now recruit more people. So they've been recruiting and they'll still recruit. But with this public sector reform project, will help digitize it and we'll be able to respond quicker to your requests. Your issue on the District Assembly Common Fund. You can't just get up and go to the district and say, give me money to do this. No. The money is spent based on the plans they have submitted, based on the budget. If they do that, the auditors will query them. The auditors will be queried. So, when you hear the planning cycle, for example, June, July, they start planning for 2021. You support them the process, and they have to hold consultations. They have to have town hall meetings to discuss that. Then you push that vocational training is a key area for the youth in this area. We need resources for this, and guide them and support. And lobby and ensure that it's in their plans. But if it's not in their plans and you come and ask for any huge amount, it's not going to be possible. The only area that we have given money, we taken away from the discretion to some extent, is that we are saying that 3% will increase from 2% to 3% now for persons with disability. 3% of the common fund must be given to persons with disability or respond to their interests. Some of them want some small monies to pay their school fees. Some want some tools for some, like we are talking about, to pursue some vocational training. So we have provided for that. But if you want to do some other economic, it's allowed by law, but you have to ensure that it's captured in their plans. If not, they'll have difficulties giving you money if you just walk and ask them for money. The MP's common fund, that's different. It's true, if you want the MP to support, but if you want the money from the district, it has to be in the plan. But the MP common fund, you can lobby them to say that this is an area that is interested and want to see if you can support it from your perspective of common. But even with the common fund, it has to address some issues in the plan. But broadly, if they have a specific plan, but it's within the economic plan, you can lobby the MP for the area. Maybe that's what the GCE was talking about. The dam issue, I see in the program that the Ministry for Special Development Initiative will be here tomorrow. So maybe you can talk about that with them. But the LIPW program is going on, and it's been very helpful because the people support, the people know that it's for them. So they better do it well themselves, and then they are also getting income. As I indicated, 2017 to 2018, we have transferred 17.7 million as wages to people. So they are keen on that. Yeah. So so he's even telling that this year we are going towards 34 million transfer to wages. Amendment to Article 55(3). You were there. I'm talking to you now. I want us to look at each other and talk. You were there. I was raising my voice. I was talking all over the place. You didn't. When Parliament sat in Parliament and all agreed that they wanted to see amendment of Article 55(3) before they amend 243 that talks about removal of the President Party District Assembly, and then they changed their mind. It's in the Hansard. 29 July Hansard. You saw all this. When they changed their mind, they said, no, we will not vote for this again. We should have heard your voice. That's what will give us impetus to say that, yes, you want this. We didn't hear your voice.
Maybe we all spoke together, but the opposition was louder than us.
Anyway, so for us to amend Article 55(3), 40% of voters must turn out, and 75 must vote yes. And this is a major party. And the president had consulted the previous heads of states, including John Mahama, on the matter. And they agreed with him. So we're now pursuing it. Only for last minute for them to chicken out to say, we will not vote for it. And we know that if they were not for it, it will just cause some unnecessary tension in the country. And then we may not even get the yes vote. 40% turnout and 75% yes. 75%, we all know that NDC, no matter what, they have about 40% block voters. Okay, so if we are going to pursue something that will not work. So if at any point in time, Ghanaians start raising the issue and we see that this is what Ghanaians want and everybody sees that there's a consensus, it can always come back because I believe in the election of mayors. I believe in that. And that is what will push the decentralization agenda in this country and put the development of people in their hands. They will hold the chief executive accountable. Right now, to some extent, they can't because it's appointed from Accra. But if they elect him, he will be accountable to them. So we are waiting. If they help, if the population of Ghana shows that this is what they want, definitely we will come back to it. But right as at this point in time, after having suffered for 2 years, running around the country talking about this, I'm not going to start it again unless I'm convinced that people now want it and therefore let's take it up. It's going to be an easy job for me. But I don't want to suffer for no benefit. I'm not talking about this. The benefit I wanted was to see MMGCs elected, and then we will push decentralization and ensure that decentralization is the way. Kenya came and learned from us. Now they are electing their mayors. Uganda learned from us. They are electing their mayor. South Africa learned from Ghana. They are electing their mayors. What's so difficult about electing mayors? The mayors that will respond to our needs, and we don't want to do it. Anyway, they've written to the president, NDC party has written to the president that the president should reactivate the discussion. So the president has directed the majority leader at the party level to see what discussion that they want to do. So we'll see what happens. But we know this is election year. So it may be difficult, but let's see what happens. Thank you. The DLREV, bigger distribution. Yes, you are saying that the DLF is a good program, but the smaller districts will not be able to use it. That is true, but the whole idea is for them to also learn to automate the whole process, have it digitized and learn. I agree, some districts are not able to get. And you are talking about removing them from the common fund. I don't have the power to do that. The president has no power to do that. It's their constitutional right. Maybe the only thing we can do is amend the formula in such a way that we give more to the poorer districts than the lower. But the bigger districts also claim that there's so much pressure on them because of the population. So much population. So removing it from the common fund, that cannot happen because of the constitution And I'm not going to go to ask for amendment of the Constitution for them to take us on. No one will support that. They will not support that. Their MPs will not support that. But maybe we'll look at the formula as they develop and they are able to improve on, especially property rate. Accra should be able to get a lot from property rate. Kumasi, Takoradi, Tema, and so many other places. Tamale, they should be able to get a lot from property rate. So we'll be looking at that. Digitization. Digitization is just, we'll talk about automation, the process. You feed in the information and you get the information at the touch of the button. You feed each other with information and the results. You monitor the results. Like for example now, we are getting support from GIZ to set up a web-based M&E system across to access data from all this to validate so that we can supervise and know, keep districts on check as to what they are doing in terms of their planned activities. Know where they are, their plan. I'm going.
So there's no chamber here. We have closed.
I understand automation and I understand digitization, and we are ensuring that we have it in the system so that the human chain, for example, we are talking about the births and deaths. If it's digitized, then this up and down, going up and down, will be reduced, and that's the process we are pursuing. And so with so many other systems within the ministry. Appreciation. Rural development policy, the copy is here, and my M&E officer is here. Please give him a copy. Please look for a copy for him. He's here. He would like to look at a copy. The essence of this is to have a coordinated response to rural development and a monitoring mechanism. So at the end of the year, I'll be able to find out from all the ministries what are mainstream rural development, what are your interventions in rural development, and we can write a report to say that this has been this is the process, how we are moving the area of development. This is we are able to do in rural development. It's not going to be the ministry, local government ministry doing all the activities in rural development. All the other sector ministries are involved. We are even looking at agri and industry as the catalyst for rural development. And this will provide the mechanisms for us to have that coordinated intervention and monitoring of rural development in the country. Challenges. Money is always a challenge. Money. I wish I could do more and more and more, but we have the issue of money. For example, Institute of Local Government Studies, it has run down. I wish we had money to redevelop it well. There are some points in time they had a support system. EU was supporting, government was supporting. Then by when we took them off subvention, they are not able to maintain the buildings. The whole place has run down. Wish we had money to be able to take care of it. For example, the DDF and the DPART project, monies that we are transferred, we'll be able to do about 2,000 projects in schools and in health and all that. And SRF, just I just said, has been able to do about 265. But you still go to some constituency and children don't still have good structures for education. Even my constituency. We've done a lot, but you still go to many villages. The schools are mud buildings and they don't have chairs to sit and all that. So we need money and everything that we are. There's a bill in Parliament now to decentralize basic education at the local level. So the decentralization, we are giving them responsibility, but the resources do have to go down for them to meet their responsibility. So they have plenty of responsibility, but it's not accompanied by the appropriate resources for them to implement. So that's a challenge. And when I go to monitor and they cry, look, we don't have this, we don't have this. I cannot blame them because I know they are constrained. So we have constraints at that level. And yeah, money is the main thing. What else? What other constraints do we have? Yes, it's just reminding me, the appreciation of local government work. Local government, democracy and good governance, that's about decentralization. Citizens sometimes do not appreciate what is local government, what is decentralization. It's a big thing by itself. It's a process. It's not that we do this and we are finished, we need to do that. But a lot of people, that's why when we are talking about election of MMDC, we are not getting that support. If people had appreciated what is the work of local government, we would have had that support that we needed to get this thing through. Moderator.
Thank you very much. Can you clap for my panel members? I want to thank the Chief Executive Officer of the Public Sector Reform Secretariat, the Chief Director of the Ministry of Regional Development, and then the Honorable Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, the Deputy Ministers, all the 3 Deputy Ministers for Local Government and Rural Development, Chief Executives, and the public. We thank you very much for coming. It is now clear that work is in progress. NDPC too are here, they are here. We thank you very much. The conversation is not ending here. We have stands out there. Go to the various websites. You go to the Ministry of Local Government website, Public Sector Reform website, Ministry of Monitoring and Evaluation website, and then you go to the other ministries, the Regional Development website, they are all there. Thank you.